The dark web is a scary place. The fact that it's hidden behind layers of security is enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. But what if the dark web wasn't just a place where criminals go to hide? What if there was somewhere online where all the monsters of the world could gather in one place without fear of detection? Well, believe it or not, this place actually exists, and it's known as the dark web chatroom. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at this very scary part of the internet. Let's get started. Before we get into what the dark web chatroom is, let's first discuss how to access it. If you want to visit the chatroom, you'll need to use the Tor browser. This is because the chatroom can only be accessed through the Onion router or Tor network. Tor is a free software that allows users to enhance their privacy online by routing their internet connection through multiple computers, making it harder to track their online activity. The dark web chatroom is hosted on an Onion site, which is a website that can only be accessed through the Tor network. Onion sites are typically used for illegal activities such as drug deals and weapons sales. But the dark web chatroom is used for something a little bit different. Once you have Tor installed, you need to enter the URL of the chatroom. The URL is a special code that will allow you to access the chatroom. It is important to note that this URL is constantly changing, as the chatroom is constantly being moved around to avoid detection. You may have to keep checking back until you get the right URL. Once you have the correct URL, you can paste it into the Tor browser and access the chatroom. When you first enter the chatroom, you will be asked to register. You will need to come up with a username and password. It is important that you choose a username that you will remember, as you will not be able to change it later on. Once you have registered, you can enter the chatroom. Now that you know how to get there, let's take a look at what the dark web chatroom is really all about. As soon as you step into the chatroom, you realize that this is no ordinary online community. Instead of pleasantries and casual conversation, you're greeted by a cacophony of disturbing messages. People here aren't afraid to reveal their darkest thoughts and desires, and they do so without holding back. Some users discuss their violent fantasies, while others share stories of their darkest deeds. It's a place where people come to confess their sins and seek absolution, but not in the traditional religious sense. Here, confession is more of a way to relieve oneself of the burden of guilt rather than a means to achieve forgiveness. Many users find this cathartic, and it's not uncommon to see them praising each other for being so open and honest. In a way, it's a support group for people who feel that they have nowhere else to turn. What's even more interesting is that people from all walks of life come to the chatroom. There are all kinds of people here, from teenagers to the elderly, and from all parts of the world. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. All that matters is that you're willing to be honest about your darkest side. In a way, the chatroom is a microcosm of society. We all have our dark sides, but most of us are able to keep them in check. The chatroom gives people the anonymity they need to let their freak flags fly. They know that what they say here will never leave the chatroom, and that gives them the freedom to be their true selves. Some people might think that the chatroom is a breeding ground for evil, but that's not necessarily true. It's just a place where people can be honest about their thoughts and feelings, even if those thoughts and feelings are dark. The chatroom is a reflection of human nature. We all have our demons, but most of us don't want to talk about them. The chatroom gives people the opportunity to do just that, and that's why it's so popular. But the dark web chatroom isn't just a place for people to confess their sins. It's also a place where they can connect with like-minded individuals. People who frequent the chatroom often become regulars. They develop relationships with the other users and even make plans to meet up in person. Some users have even formed groups based on their shared interests. These groups can be small or large, and they can focus on anything from serial killers to cults. It's not uncommon for users to share their personal information with each other, such as their home address and phone number. This level of intimacy is rare in online communities, but it's common in the dark web chat room. Users feel safe sharing this information with each other because they know that the chat room is a judgment-free zone. No matter what they say or do, they will not be judged by the other users. This creates a strong sense of community, and it's one of the main reasons that people keep coming back to the chat room. However, as you might expect, there are some downsides to using the dark web chat room. For one thing, it can be extremely disturbing to read about the darkest thoughts and desires of strangers. This can be upsetting for some users, and it can even trigger those who have experienced trauma in the past. Additionally, the anonymity of the chat room means that people can get away with saying things that they would never say in person. This can include hate speech, personal attacks, and even threats of violence. It's not uncommon for arguments to break out in the chat room, and sometimes these arguments can get pretty heated. In spite of these downsides, the dark web chat room remains a popular destination for those looking to explore the darker side of human nature. It's a place where people can be honest about their thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. And it's also a place where people can connect with like-minded individuals from all over the world. Speaking of the moderators, let's take a look at who exactly is running the chat room. As we mentioned earlier, the chat room is run by a team of volunteers. These volunteers come from all walks of life, and they have one thing in common: a fascination with the darker side of human nature. The moderators do not tolerate any nonsense in the chat room. They will ban any user who tries to cause trouble, and they will not hesitate to delete any message that violates the chat room's rules. This helps to keep the chat room focused on its purpose, which is for people to confess their darkest thoughts and feelings. If you're thinking about visiting the dark web chat room, then be prepared for anything. You will see things here that you have never seen before, and you will hear things that you wish you never heard. But if you can handle it, then the chat room is definitely worth a visit. Just be sure to follow the rules and don't cause any trouble. If you do, you will be banned from the chat room in no time. Although we did mention that the chat room is not a breeding ground for evil, there have been instances where people have taken things too far. There have been cases of people planning and carrying out attacks in the chat room. This has led to calls for the chat room to be shut down. But its defenders argue that the chat room is simply a reflection of society, and that shutting it down would be like trying to put the genie back in the bottle. They also point out that the vast majority of users are not violent, and that the chat room is a valuable resource for people who have nowhere else to turn. So what do you think? Is the dark web chat room a necessary evil, or is it just a dangerous online community that needs to be shut down? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for watching our video on the dark web chat room. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. We also have a video on another scary part of the dark web, so be sure to check that out next.